Okay, here's the video I was promising for example 7, which we didn't quite get to in class. Almost got there. But in this equation, or this problem, we want to use a super mesh approach because we have this current source that's common to both loops. And so that's going to be our super mesh. And I'm going to start by just defining some voltages here. I'm going to call that V 5 ohms and V 10 ohms. So our super mesh equation is, well, I'm going to follow the loop, and so we have a negative 10 volts, just following that loop. That's the source on the left. And then we have a plus 5 ohms times, oh, I'm sorry, let's just go back. This is plus V 5 ohms plus V 10 ohms and then we have a positive 20 volt drop as we go across the source on the right, and that brings us back to the bottom node, and so that's our loop. And then using Ohm's law, we will rewrite this 10 volts, and now we have I1 times 5 ohms and I2 times 10 ohms so there's the Ohm's law equation. And the other equation that we have here is that, well, how about this? There's a relationship between I1 and I2 that's given to us by this current source, and we can write that I1 minus I2, I'm just following the loops here, I1 minus I2, so I'm got a positive contribution from I1 and a negative contribution from I2. That's the result is, and we're thinking about current going down because of the direction of I1 here, but that's negative 1 amp. So equivalently I can say I2 is I1 plus 1 amp. Now we need to put this current equation back into our KVL and Ohm's law equation, so I'm going to do that. And we've got negative 10 volts plus I1 times 5 ohms plus I1 plus 1 amp times 10 ohms plus 20 volts is 0. And this 1 amp and 10 ohms, that gives me 10 volts, so that's a positive 10 volts, so I'm going to cross this 1 amp out and the negative 10 volts because those cancel. So now we're left with I1 times, and I have 5 ohms and a 10 ohms, so that's 15 ohms, plus, or we can say we'll move the 20 to the other side, so that equals negative 20 volts. And so, oops, and I got to fix that. That should be an I1. So then, I1 is negative 20 volts over 15 ohms, which is equal to negative 4/3 amps. And then I2 is I1 plus 1 amp, so we write that's negative 1/3 amps.